Watch any kid sit down to study, and you'll see the same pattern. Mind 1, focused. Pencil moving. Eyes on the page, mind 5, still going. A little slower, mind 10, staring at the wall. Fidgeting. Suddenly remembering something completely unrelated they need to tell you right now. Critics call this laziness. Teachers call it a lack of discipline. But here's what almost nobody tells you. This isn't a character flaw. It's not even really about willpower. It's about the physical limits of a developing brain. Limits that most study routines completely ignore. Today, I'm going to show you exactly why children lose focus around the 10-minute mark, and why forcing them to just push through often makes things worse, not better. Most people assume attention works like a muscle a child either has or doesn't. Some kids just have good focus. Others are just distractible. So the usual response is to demand more discipline. Sit still longer. Try harder. Stop being lazy. But attention isn't a fixed trait. It's a limited resource, one that depletes with use, especially in a brain that's still under construction. And children's brains are under construction far more than adults realize. The part of the brain responsible for sustained focus doesn't even finish developing until the mid-20s. Expecting a child to focus like an adult isn't just unrealistic. It's like expecting someone with an unfinished set of tools to build something only fully finished tools can build. Reason number 1. The part of the brain responsible for sustained attention is still developing. The prefrontal cortex sits right behind the forehead, and it's responsible for exactly the skills studying demands. Sustained attention, impulse control, resisting distraction. In children, this region is significantly less developed than in adults. It's not weaker in the sense of being broken. It's simply unfinished, still forming the neural connections that support long, sustained focus. This means a child's brain physically has less capacity to maintain concentrated attention for extended periods. Compared to an adult brain, 10 minutes isn't a random number here. Research on children's attention spans consistently finds that sustained focus in younger children genuinely tends to run shorter, often somewhere in a similar range, before natural drop-off begins. Reason number 2. Focusing is genuinely tiring, and young brains tire faster. Sustained attention requires something psychologists call executive function, a set of mental processes responsible for planning, focusing, and resisting distraction. Executive function relies on limited cognitive resources that deplete the longer they're used. In adults, these resources deplete gradually, over a longer stretch of time. In children, whose executive function systems are still developing, this same resource depletes noticeably faster. This is sometimes referred to as mental fatigue, or attentional fatigue, and it isn't something a child can simply will away through effort. Once those resources run low, focus doesn't decline gently. It tends to drop off fairly sharply, which is exactly why a child can go from fully engaged to completely checked out in what feels like an instant. Reason number 3. Children's brains are wired to seek novelty, and repetition quickly becomes invisible to them. The brain's reward system releases dopamine in response to new, interesting stimuli. Children, whose brains are still highly sensitive to novelty as part of normal development, experience a strong dopamine response to something new. But that response fades quickly once the material becomes repetitive or familiar, which happens fast during traditional studying. Same page, same format, same instructions. Once novelty fades, dopamine drops, and along with it, motivation to keep paying attention. Adults have developed more capacity to sustain effort even after novelty fades, largely because of a more mature prefrontal cortex. Children haven't built that capacity yet, so when something stops feeling new, their attention often leaves with it. Reason number 4. Kids need movement, and stillness itself works against their focus. Many studying environments require children to sit motionless for extended periods, which seems like a reasonable request for concentration. But movement and attention are more closely linked in children than most people assume. Physical activity increases blood flow and stimulates neurotransmitters, including dopamine and norepinephrine, both of which play a direct role in supporting attention and focus. For children specifically, some research suggests that brief physical movement can actually improve subsequent concentration, rather than disrupting it. This means the common instruction to sit still and focus may be working directly against how a child's attention system is naturally supported. The fidgeting isn't defiance. It's often the child's body trying to generate exactly the kind of stimulation their brain needs to keep functioning. Reason number 5. Most study sessions are designed around adult expectations, not developmental ones. A 30 or 45-minute study block might feel entirely reasonable to an adult planning a child's routine, but that length often has little relationship to what a child's developing attention system can actually sustain in one stretch. When a study session is designed without matching the child's realistic attention window, distraction isn't a failure of the child. It's a mismatch between the task's design and the brain attempting to complete it. This is similar to expecting someone to run at a marathon pace for a sprint they were never physically prepared to sustain. The distraction shows up right where the mismatch does, which is often almost exactly at the point where the child's actual attention capacity runs out. Now, it's important to be clear about what this doesn't mean. This doesn't mean children can't focus, study effectively, or build strong attention skills over time. Attention span isn't fixed forever at whatever a child's current age suggests. It develops gradually, and it can be supported and strengthened with the right structure. But that structure has to work with a developing brain, not against it. Forcing longer, uninterrupted focus before a child's brain is ready for it doesn't build discipline. It usually just builds frustration for the child and the person trying to help them study. So here's what actually helps, based on how children's attention really works. 1. Break study sessions into shorter blocks, matched closer to the child's realistic attention span, rather than one long continuous session. 2. Build in brief movement breaks between blocks. A minute or two of physical activity can help reset focus for the next stretch of studying. 3. Introduce small elements of novelty within repetitive material. Changing format, using different colors, or varying how a concept is presented can help sustain the dopamine response that keeps attention engaged. 4. Avoid treating early distraction as defiance. Recognize it as a signal that the current session may be exceeding what the child's brain can currently sustain, not evidence of laziness. 5. Gradually and gently extend focused blocks over time, rather than demanding long sessions immediately. Attention span builds similarly to a skill, improving through consistent, appropriately challenging practice, not through force. So the next time a child drifts off after 10 minutes of studying, resist the urge to call it laziness. What you're actually watching is a brain running exactly as expected for its current stage of development. Not broken, not undisciplined, simply not finished being built yet. And the goal was never to force that unfinished brain to act like a finished one. The goal is to work with what it can actually do right now, while it quietly, gradually builds the capacity to do more.